I know my friend tried to mobilize people there for him. He's a Zakari Membe. Membe man is my very good friend. And he's a Zakari candidate of the Labour Party. He tried his best to mobilize the people for him at the Ibu Square or Ibu Square. But is that the kind of crowd we call crowd in Benue State? We are talking of national election. It's not a local government chairmanship campaign election.
In the south,
presidential candidate.
Just a few days ago, they were in your state, and we saw the crowd that poured out in support of. Are you going to wave those people away with a wave of hand?
We are not waving. That will not determine what will happen that day. Nobody is waving it. Nobody is waving it. You will see. It's always like that. Well, I think the politics of Nigeria is deeper than what Obi is doing.
What gives you the confidence that the PDP would take the 2023 election?
What we are very confident. The APC have done enough. They have done campaign for the PDP already.
How so?
Since for the past 7 years, let them tell us what they have done. Is it hunger? Is it hunger or epileptic? Light? What have they done? So you don't even need to campaign. PDP do not even to jump to it. You don't need to campaign much because the campaign is already done by APC. Is it the issue of if you start atomizing now, you will see the world of difference. Today, as we are talking, we have fuel anywhere. Even if you see fuel, it's 3,000 per 10 liters with the hawkers. That is 300 per liter. Is that the kind of government we continue with? Bread is now 1,000. Bread. Bag of rice is 45 to 47,000 per bag. They took over in 2015. What did they meet? What was the price of this item?
Well, they say the global inflation. This is something that the world is dealing with. In the US, there's inflation. The inflation numbers are going up. In the UK, the same thing. So it's not peculiar to Nigeria.
Well, Nigeria, we have a peculiar country. We have a peculiar country. They should not judge. They will talk about globalization. But that's not true. Before the inflation of UK and US started going up, where were we? During the flood, there was no petrol in Nigeria. We see fuel in Abuja. They say, oh, it's the flood at Lokoja that the tanks could not come in, could not bring everything. The flood had decided no more flood, nothing. Up to today, we have not seen PMS in Abuja. They have come up with a different story. Says globalization. So is that how we're going to be changing from one scenario to the other? It cannot continue this way. I know there are some people this morning that they have not gotten what to eat. The party has made Nigeria a poverty headquarter of the world. So when you are talking about comparisons because it's globalization or what is happening outside the economy, no, even those days they'll see what they have what to eat on the table. Despite the inflation. Our Nigerian situation is, we have mentioned inflation. Our country situation is very peculiar. In the theory of economics, when you talk of inflation, in Nigeria, you have cost push inflation. One singular thing that has pushed this thing is the diesel. In Nigeria, you have imported inflation. We are now talking about what is happening outside the country, inflation outside Nigeria, because we are mostly import dependent. In Nigeria, we have stagflation, stagnant economy, and rising cost of goods and services. So a country that is involved in all these three issues, except there's a divine intervention, we are in for more trouble.
Speaking of inflation, the CBN governor said inflation would come down to about 15%. Currently, it's over 21%. Says it would come down by January to about 15% with the Naira redesign and all that. So as an economist, let's talk about the economy now for a bit. As an economist, do you think that the Naira redesign would have an impact in reducing the inflation figures in this country?
It has minimal impact, but not maximum. What we should focus on in this country is production. It's production. And that's the only thing that can crowd out this effect of inflation. But here we are stuck with insecurity. People cannot go to the farm. Nothing is coming up. The GDP is going down. Manufacturing industries are zero because of the high cost of interest rate that has gone up. Now the cost of borrowing is now 16.5%. If you had even borrowed 1 million naira when it was 13%, today the bank must have adjusted their rates to comply with the new MPR to 6.5. So where is the production? Then they'll be talking about how to get, because there's this epileptic power supply, they will go around looking for diesel to buy from open market at 850. And in doing all this, you have to mark up your prices. So the production, the factories, the industries that we know before, they are all down. So except we boost production, the issue of just singling out change of naira color will not reduce inflation the way the MFL has told us. And two, there is this issue of the monetary policy, that is CBN, and the Ministry of Finance, that is the fiscal policy. They are not working together. And until the monetary and the fiscal policies decide to sit down and work out what is best for the country, we will still not get out of the woods. You were aware recently, when the issue of the design came, the Minister of Finance said he was not even aware. That is the fiscal policy of the government. For me, that's not the way it should have been. It's supposed to have been carried along. So if that is so, then how do we now come to a situation where we say, okay, we want inflation to come down, we want this, we want bank rate, we want taxes, because everybody is working at cross purposes. So I think the president should call this rule to order for a sound economic policy for us to move out of this mess.
We're going to be talking more. I have with me this morning Honorable Tom Zakari PhD, member of Federal House of Representatives at the 7th Assembly, is joining us this morning in the conversation. He's also an economist, by the way, and so when you hear him talk economics, that's his area, his forte. So enjoys to speak on that. So joining, we'll open up the phone lines in a bit to taking your thoughts and responses to the conversation. But then I'd love us to talk a little more on the economy. Just recently, the NBS, National Bureau of Statistics, released reports that says over 133 million Nigerians are living multidimensional poverty. As an economist, what do you think brought us to this point? People have talked about the exchange rate, we talked about the inflation, the unemployment, and all. But looking at the way that things have been in the last 7 years, now this is something that affects successive governments. The PDP handed over to the APC, and it wasn't like things were all good and nice at the time.
It was not rosy.
It wasn't rosy. So, what do you think has brought us to this point where over 60% of our population are living in poverty?
Some people have even described Nigeria as the poverty capital of the world because of those statistics. One of those reasons is policy somersault. The policy somersault of the government. Two, the country we are import dependent economy. Everything we produce in this country is imported. Until we have to diversify, we have to leave that. We'll be in a mess. The rate of naira exchange, the foreign exchange, the rate of naira exchange is one of the major issues too. Since we are import-dependent economy, whatever we do is dependent on the dollar. And once this thing keeps going up, we find it very difficult to produce. Before now, even before PDP, if you are conversant with Kaduna, Kano, Lagos, Ikeja, you see the booming industries. Go to Kakure, go to Sharada, go to Bombay. But today, those areas have become ghosts of themselves. I can start wondering, is it Nigeria that we know in the 80s, in the 90s? That is one of the reasons why we have so much unemployment. Those days, once you graduate or you finish all these schools, some people run to Kano, run to Kaduna, run to Lagos, and they are employed in these factories, these manufacturing industries that I told you. That's where the issue of production came in. But today, is that so? It's not there anywhere. It's not there. So they definitely need to affect the poverty level. And that is what is happening to this country. So until we are able to look inwards and see how this economy can be diversified, how we stop importing PMS, the 4 refineries, the government has to bring them back to production. Once that is done, it reduces the pressure on our foreign exchange. Because as it is today, I was a member of the downstream when I was in the downstream committee, and we went around, toured around all the refineries. We keep budgeting and budgeting. You will be shocked to hear that Nigeria takes crude oil from Nigeria to Cote d'Ivoire to refine. And they now bring it back as if it's around tripping. They bring it back to Nigeria as PMS for us to buy. You can imagine the number of dollars that have gone into refining in Cote d'Ivoire. So what is wrong with us that we cannot put our own refinery, even Port Harcourt 1 or Port Harcourt 2, into production? That we have to take all the crude to Cote d'Ivoire for refining. It's very sad. And nothing has been done up till now. This government came of 2015, the former Minister of Petroleum, this guy from Delta. He came and said, by 2017, all the refineries, Ukachukwu, that yes, before 2017, all the refineries will be back on board. Tales by moonlight. Election was coming, they said before May 29, 2019, refineries will be on board. Here we are. This 8 years is gone. We are now depending on, we are waiting for Dangote refinery. That is the private sector affair.
But these refineries were not also working during the PDP. And but then I'd love us to touch on a very important aspect of this conversation.
Not all. We went on tour, we went on oversight. And we saw some that were working, not all.
Which ones were working at the time?
I remember Kaduna was working.
At 20%?
Yeah, but not full capacity. We even went to Ori too.
Because
but they were not,
I remember
they were not at full capacity.
There were monies voted for turnaround maintenance for
TAM.
all of these for most of these refineries, including the Kaduna refinery. And at some point you see it seems like it's going to start production. A few days later, it just goes back to almost zero capacity.
Government magic. Can we go for more?
Let's talk about subsidy.
Yes.
The subsidy removal. That was something that brought Nigeria, grounded the country at some point, during the Jonathan administration. Yeah. And till today, it's still a subject of conversation. This administration says we're going to remove subsidy. We're not going to remove subsidy. Now, the deadline has been moved. And people are saying if you remove subsidy, the marketers just this morning I was reading says if subsidy is removed, Nigerians should buy PMS at about 400 naira per liter.
Yes.
This is further going to, increase the weight of poverty on Nigerians. What do you make of the subsidy regime? 6 trillion naira of the 2022 budget.
We have dwelled so much on subsidy removal. somebody who was part of the downstream committee, were recommended for the removal of subsidy. Yeah, the pain will come, but it will subside. But the removing subsidy, there must be some palliatives to cushion the effects of the removal of subsidy. We have gone through all this pain to now. You have moved fuel to move from your house, and you go to black market to buy fuel at 300 per liter, 300 per liter. What will you prefer? We don't prefer if you have fuel, you drive to a gas station and just buy your fuel at 300 and move. For me, as an economist, as whatever I say, the subsidy removal should go. They should remove the subsidy, so we have sustainable supply of PMS. But they are playing politics with it. You know, election is around the corner. If you remember early this year, the president said they're going to remove subsidy. Labour woke up and said they won't agree. And when they saw the danger, 2023 is around the corner. If you remove it now, they will have a backlash. A backpedal. Now they have fixed the subsidy will go by June 2023. They want to see how they can maneuver Nigerians up to May. If they win, or good. If they don't win, let subsidy go. But they know the implication of removing subsidy now because of the backlash of Nigerians. And that's why it's still there. For me, I recommend for complete removal of subsidy with a proviso. What within the palliatives that were accompanying subsidy, transportation. It happened during Jonathan. The buses. I remember Bala Bauchi was the minister. Then the creation of Shopee, headed by Kolade. They were on that downstream. And the Shopee were buses. They built public health centers here and there to cushion the effect of the removal of the subsidy. So if this must be removed, those things must be brought. Transportation, especially public transportation. Railway, these rail lines must be fully activated. If you have a rail that brings you from Kubwa into township, into Gariki, if you have a rail line that will bring you from Wagwalada into Abuja main city, from Kuje into this place, from Kurudu into FCT at very minimal price, I think you are good to go removing the subsidy. But if it must be removed, these things must be in place. And this is the fear of government and the fear of 2023 election or February election. That's why they cannot remove it.
Hello, good morning. Good morning, Paul. Good to have you.
Good morning, sir, my brother.
Country is lack of continuity. Your candidate in Oshun, Senator Adeleke, that was sworn in yesterday, they are coming in as a governor. We expected a lot of votes that they gave to him came from the heart of people of Oshun. But for us that are outside Oshun, I expected to just see that, let him sit down, look at what is on ground. You don't come out and begin to announce. No, if as a leader who wants to move forward, you bring up new changes. Those changes will be felt either openly or in fact it will be seen openly.
All right.
And you are announcing prop. You know, and going by history, any government that with prop, they're not ever doing well in this country. To me, they don't.
All right, Paul. Okay, Paul.
Oh.
Thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you for calling. Let's bring in another caller and then you'll respond to them. Hello, good morning. Good morning. Who's joining us? I didn't get your name. Say your name again, please. Haruna, good to have you. Welcome. Oh yeah, good to have you join the family. We celebrate you.
I think I just want to talk about the issue of subsidy. I heard the guest talking about personal opinion, subsidy, so that everybody can buy the fuel at the same cost. To me, you don't just release subsidy like that. You know, um, fuel is the bedrock of this nation. Sincerely speaking, if there's any hike of price of fuel, the price of goods goes up immediately. So, what are the governments doing in order for us to stop exporting our crude oil to foreign countries? Hello, sir.
Yes, sir. We are hearing you, sir.
Yes, we can hear you.
What are they doing to fix our refinery so that we don't need to take our crude elsewhere to refine it, then bring it back to the country and sell? By the time our refineries are working, the cost of exporting the crude and the cost of bringing it back will come up. And because I believe those costs are being included, that is why we are getting that fuel at a very high price. So this government promised us that during their campaign that every year they will build a brand new refinery for us. Today we are counting 7 years plus. We've not seen single one. If they were to fulfill their promise, by now we'll be talking of 7 refineries in the country. Where wouldn't that be our issues? So I think we have to tell the truth that if you remove that subsidy, you are bringing more hardship to the society. Because I patronize fuel. I use it every blessed day. Now as I'm talking to you, come to the cities and see how how people are suffering to get this fuel. The other time they said they will remove the fuel subsidy, the fuel will be available, this and that. In fact, they change the price of the fuel. Today we are still facing that time because we don't have enough. If our refineries are working, God has blessed us with this food. We can produce more than enough and we can even take it elsewhere. That is my contribution. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Haruna. Appreciate you calling in. I think we'll just squeeze in one more caller and then we'll go ahead to respond to them. Hello, good morning. Good morning, Michael. We can hear you. Go ahead. Let's hear you.
I've not heard any of the candidates talking about how they can be able to build a refinery for us. I've not heard it, including the PDP, all of the political parties. I've not heard any of them talking about how they can be able to build a refinery. But the thing here is that, just like I would say, how do we have government on top of government? You have not removed the subsidy as a government, yet the marketers control the market price. And you see that working as a government, you know? So just like any other person have also noted, if they want to remove it, but make sure that you put a palliative, you understand? Provide a transportation welfare, and then, give us even if you can subsidize the transportation, so that the interest of this removal of the subsidy will not much in ordinary citizens. Okay? And then there's something your guest said, I want to disagree with him because he says when a P2B left PDP and come to Labour Party, how many people did he get? Well, we can assure you that he does not come with the people from the Democratic Party. He come with us as a citizen of this country. You understand? So if he get us, your vote as a PDP member is just only one. But if he can be able to, as together, all of us are following him, you understand? I can assure you that whether he come with the multitude of PDP to join Labour Party is an immaterial. You understand?
Okay. All right, Michael. All right. Thank you very much, Michael. You heard the callers. A lot of them seem to be more concerned about the fuel subsidy and the P2B matter. So with the way that it is, these are Nigerians. These are people who may not belong to any political party, but they're saying, look, this is the person we're supporting in 2023. Just to prove to you that it's no longer, it's just not just social media. They're everywhere. What do you make of that?
Well, the issue is just simple. That they are everywhere, yes. That's what they say. I hope all of them have PVC. It's not just being everywhere. It's not just following P2B. Have they collected their PVC to actualize their followership? That is what the issue is. How many of them have PVC? How many of them have transferred their PVC or wherever they are to wherever they want to go and vote? It's not just going to social media and insult and talk and talk. Can they show us their PVC to show that, look, on the day of election, this is my PVC, I'm voting P2B? That's where the issue is, please. And I rest my case here.
All right, let's move on. And let's move on to, you were mentioning something earlier. We're talking about the fuel subsidy and, the fact that Nigerians are suffering with the fuel scarcity and all. One of the achievements of this administration, one of the legacies they're leaving behind is the, Komani oil field where oil has been discovered in the north. Yes. Exploration for just 7 years, and now they found oil in the north. We're going to have oil there. There's not just going to be oil, there's going to be gas production and all of that. Isn't that something that this administration should be given credit for?
Oh, Prince, cannot take that one away from them. They have done well. But know that the oil exploration in Komani in Gombe, that river basin, has been on for some years until they are able to come out with this. So the president at this should be given credit. Give credit to whom it's zero at this level. And I think with the discovery and with what has been done, I think it will turn out the economy of the north to a more prosperous one. Because if you notice that the north is the rate of poverty is so high in that place. And I think this should be able to calm down nerves and see how we can move forward. It's not just commission and abandon it. It will be followed up with action.
Interesting. We have a few more minutes to go, but before it wouldn't be nice for us to leave without looking at the National Assembly, which is where you came from.
Yeah.
The National Assembly, people have described the Ninth Assembly as one of the weakest National Assembly. One of the weakest assemblies in since the return to democracy. As a person from that constituency, how would you compare, the 7th Assembly, which you were a member of, the 8th and the 9th?
There was more vibrancy in 7th and 8th Assembly than what we are seeing today in 9th Assembly. The 9th Assembly have decided to compromise a lot of things because they are all the president is their man. And from day one, we knew where they were going. Right from the day the Senate president said that anything the president brings must be passed. So that means that from that statement, we'll be sure that there was nothing like check and balances any longer. And that's exactly what's playing out to date. So when people say they are weak, when people say they are not doing what they are supposed to do, the president pocket, there is an arm of the National Assembly is an arm of Aso Rock, is an arm of executive. Well, they may be right because of the utterances of the presiding officers. Anything that affects the executive, they don't want to even hear. They will not even allow it to be debated on the floor of the National Assembly. And it has been playing out. So, but whatever it is, in the next few days or months, by the special grace of God, and we all will be allowed to see it, it will come and pass. Just like we say in the Bible, these two shall pass away.
Let's bring in one more caller and then we close it. Hello, good morning. Good morning. Abdullahi, go ahead. Let's hear you quickly.
Just more. I really appreciate this discussion on analyzing the Nigerian issues. Really, it is my redundant task to talk about this issue of economy in Nigeria. As you said, APC has already campaigned for PDP and even other political parties. Indeed, they have nothing tangible to tell Nigerians about the
achievement of this administration. And as you said earlier, that we are already facing the most difficult situation. All our industries are shut down, so we are no longer a productive nation. We are just consuming, and we lack many things in this country. And the federal government did not put anything in order. It's just now when they are about to go, they are trying to touch some aspect of human life, but it is too late to cry when there is cut off. They have already done badly, so they can't pay what they have done in the past. I think the government has just failed. At least if I'm to measure the achievement of this administration, I can only give them 35%. But in the economy, at this point in time, I will just give them 25%, while on inflation, I will give this federal government zero, because they have done nothing on human life, especially on inflation, which is really touching human life on daily basis. So indeed, the achievement is not there at all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Abdullahi Mekano. Those are your thoughts. We'll wrap it up now. Honorable Tom Zakari, what would be your thought, your final words as we leave Nigerians today? You've spoken well, spoken well. Many of them have commended you on your thoughts and all. But as we go into the 2023 election, what message would you have for Nigerians, looking at all that we're dealing with? The insecurity, the tension as regards 2023 elections. Some people have said the 2023 election may not even happen, may not even hold.
No.
What would be your message to Nigerians?
Don't mind the Nusrati most of our time. 2023 will hold. It will come and pass. Nigerians, shine your eyes, elect a unifier, elect the president and put food table on your table. Elect those that will reduce unemployment. Elect the person that will get involved in productive activities of the economy, not consumption. Because the bane of our economy, just like one of our friends just mentioned, is consumption. And when you are consuming imported items. And that puts a pressure on our foreign exchange demand, which is not good enough for this country. And that's why we have run into crisis here and there. So 2023 will come and pass, and the winner will emerge by the social grace of God. And it's that winner that will take us to Eldorado. Come and repair the damaged economy that we have seen for the past 7 years. We will not bring in people like Lai Mohammed who will come and be turning figures and tables on the online any longer.
That's a strong job there. We'd love to close it now and say thank you so much, Honorable Tom Zakari, PhD, member of Federal House of Representatives, 7th Assembly. Thank you so much for talking with us this morning, sir. Really appreciate your thoughts and time.
Thank you, Princess Iheanacho.
Thank you very much.